What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a fantastic evening so far. We are back once again for another Miami Hurricanes football after dark. I'm here with some great guests with my co-host Ross as well. We can't wait to talk some Canes football. And, speaking of Miami Hurricanes football, we just got done with our second scrimmage. Ross, kind of what are your brief thoughts so far? Completing our second scrimmage, we're now entering preparations for the reigning national champions in Atlanta, Georgia, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Well, what's been great to hear on a consistent basis lately is that our young wide receivers are showing up. To have that kind of depth, those kind of options to look for outside of a guy, like Rambo, Harley, the main guys, having some guys that can come in and be responsible to bring in 3 or 4 receptions possibly in big moments is a truly big deal for us. And it sounds like Likens and the rest of the staff is really, really thinking that these guys are going to be able to perform for us. I did hear some positive things again about the linebacking duo of Keontra Smith and Flagg. Of course, I'm very, very, very hesitant to just, say, oh, we found our linebackers. But at least there's a little bit of upside there that we can look at to work with.
RC, what do you think, man? Second scrimmage is completed. Are we ready for the Alabama Crimson Tide? Has it settled in that we're going to be playing them September 4th?
Well, if we had to strap it on and play right now, I know Alabama's ready. I don't know if we're ready, to be quite frank with you. I think we're making the right progress. I think some question marks that the coaching staff had going in yesterday, some were answered, not all were answered. To piggyback on what Ross just mentioned, the question is going to be, are we going to allow these young wide receivers to play over more experienced players that are upperclassmen? That's going to be a debate that they're going to have to resolve. So that's one thing. I think that, they have set themselves apart a little bit. The second-year player, Keyshawn, the kid from San Diego, to me is the one that's, man, he just exudes confidence now. So I think he's about to just break out. But, again, we don't know. But they have separated themselves somewhat. And even if you watch all those clippings online, they're making catches, contested, not contested. Those kids want to play. Then on the defensive side of the ball, I think Ross is absolutely correct. Linebacker question marks, I think some have been answered. But I think there's many more with regards to who the second team's going to be. What are the 4 guys that are going to be in that rotation? How comfortable are those young kids with the scheme itself right now in Corey Flagg and Keontra? So we made some progress. And one stat that I want to point out here real quick, last thing about the scrimmage. We started that, I think there was 4 or 5 sacks last night, and that's great. We don't know if it's based on a blitz package, if it's based on just beating the guy one-on-one, or we don't know if the secondary was playing so well that it was more of a coverage sack. So, and we don't know if ones went against ones and ones went against twos. We don't know that yet. That has not been explained, and hopefully Coach Diaz will share more on that tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was refreshing to hear, Coach Manny Diaz did state that, their first team defense did play extremely well. He did praise Corey Flagg, Keontra Smith, Zach McLeod had a sack, Elijah Roberts. He said the front 7 defensive line played outstanding. And that's something you want to hear, especially all of the guys we lost at the defensive end position unit from this past season. It's going to be hard to reload at defensive end, especially having Zach McLeod come in. I think that's going to be an interesting experiment. So, hey, scrimmages are done. This is it. It's Alabama prep time. Stu, what do you think, man? I know you're a college football expert. You're the man. You know it all. You can name the 1987 Miami Hurricanes. What do you see about the 2021 Miami Hurricanes? What do they bring to the table?
Well, in my mind, and thanks, you're too kind, Paul. In my mind, I'm just looking at them like they're Indiana. Normally, that would be like insulting, and I'd probably get kicked off the channel for that. But you look up and down, just a solidly built team. I don't think that there's any position group really, in my mind, that is a negative going into this year. Even the linebacking crew, I think, by moving McLeod and getting some new blood in there, and with the changes on the defensive side of the ball with the coaching staff, I think that actually is a net neutral, maybe even a positive going forward, especially looking at next year and 23 as well. I think it just all relies on Derek King, just like it does Michael Penix with Indiana. Derek King has proven it. He's top 4 quarterback in the country. He can throw the ball. He can run. If he's healthy, I think they will win the Coastal. I like them more than North Carolina. And I think all the pieces are kind of coming together, especially with that wide receiving core. And it's great to hear that, they got some young kids stepping up because, look at a guy like Mark Pope and, God bless him, but 19% drop passes rate last year is pretty horrific. So I think you see the makings of a team. And also, Manny, third year, I'm a big third year guy. Third year is when you should see the jump at a school like Miami. Third year is when it really should start coming together, and I think it does.
Stu mentioned Derek King, top 4 quarterback in the nation. Curb Street said he could potentially be the face of college football in the 2021 season. Ross, do you see Derek King making that kind of impact?
If he can truly connect on the deep pass like he was doing at Houston, there's a chance for him to absolutely explode, because that really seems to be the only part that's missing right now. The hesitance to maybe, run early and test the knee out against a team like Bama. I can understand a little bit of that, but I think that that's going to be something that's going to get solved in his mind quickly. I think that he is going to be the type of guy that is absolutely going to be the face of what's going on, especially in the NIL movement.
You mentioned a little bit hesitant running the football. I understand with the torn ACL. My whole thing going into the 2021 season, I wish Derek King the past season ran the football a lot more. I thought we were running the football quite efficiently with Derek King against Clemson. Why not kind of cater the offense around him as your running quarterback, as your running back, taking the most carries majority of the game? That's something I would like to see this upcoming season. I understand with the torn ACL, he might be a little timid. I can see Rhett Lashley as well, because if Derek King, God forbid, he goes down, your next 2 quarterbacks are literally underclassmen freshmen. So it could be a roller coaster ride of a season. But hey, I'm all in for Derek King. It's probably his 5th year of college football, roughly, or 6th. So he's seen a lot of football in the college game. And I think he's ready to go. RC, what do you think about Derek King?
Everything with Derek is predicated on health. I mean, he's such a dynamic player. He's got such a specific skill set, not just as a passer, but as a combo quarterback. I mean, he definitely has that opportunity to go ahead and make something happen with his feet. Not just pass the ball to extend plays, but he is a legit weapon in the open field. Look at the opportunities he had last year, even against Clemson. He had some very big plays that, unfortunately, we couldn't finish those drives. But the potential's there. I don't think that's ever really been a question mark. I think if anything, now he's got even better chemistry with his offense and his offensive coordinator and his quarterback's coach. The question for me is going to be his health. And alongside with health comes maintaining your health. Is the front line going to be able to protect him throughout the entire year? And a concern there is, is Zion going to be okay? Pretty much what we're hearing, everything's a lot better. But if your focal point in terms of protection for Derek King has missed, 6, 7, 8 practices, that's a concern going in for his health. And I don't think we can go ahead and not acknowledge that. But is the potential there? As Kirk mentioned, there's no doubt he can be the face of college football. That opportunity is there for him. Will he be able to sustain the beatings of 13, 14 weeks?
Stu, what's your perspective of Miami and Alabama in this matchup? Everyone's talking about Alabama, the reigning national champions. They're untouchable. They got Bill O'Brien as their offensive coordinator. Their defense is one of the best of the decade. They can literally single-handedly win the national title just on the basis of their defense. Some NFL scouts said he's never seen a practice like Alabama's. It's insane the speed they go at. I mean, is this the team? Is this the perfect college football team this upcoming season? Are there any flaws? I mean, how do you see Alabama?
Yeah, so I called a friend that's close to the program, and look, the defense is what it's built out to be. I mean, it's a top 3 defense in the country. You can't get around it. There's absolute studs across the board. I think in Phil Steele's magazine, you've got 8 out of the 11, in some form of the All-American preseason list. They're for real. They're legit. And Zion has to be 100% because going up against Will Anderson is not a walk in the park. Offensively, O-line is incredibly loaded with talent. 5 stars, J.C. Latham, Tommy Brockenmeyer, and we're not even talking about Evan Neal or Chris Odom yet. It's ridiculous. The O-line, from what I understand in practices, is clicking. The problem is at quarterback. And Bryce, what you're going to see with Bryce this year, and my understanding, because I've been asking all summer about it, Bill O'Brien's going to take the Houston Texans offense, and it's going to pretty much be kind of like a Sarkisian RPO with a heavy emphasis on the run part of that RPO. Bryce is, and I'll allude to it in a second, he's not getting past his first read. And that's in practice. Now, is that because he's playing just an incredible defense? I don't know, maybe. But he's not getting past his first read in practice. And yesterday when Coach Saban came out and said, this isn't a democracy, he's right. It's not. Jalen Milroe's outperforming him. Just bottom line. So I would be really interested in how long the leash is for Bryce Young. I mean, it's really got to start clicking. Now, that being said, you look at that running back room, it's incredibly loaded. Somebody's going to break through if you're not a Brian Robinson guy. Well, then maybe it's Trey Sanders. Maybe it's Kamar Wheaton. Who knows? Chase McClellan. You can go down the list, every single, 7 platinum diamonds or whatever. But I think it all revolves around Bryce, and you're going to find out very quickly how well he does, because Miami, they got a potent defense. I mean, this isn't, Sisters of the Poor and blind. Miami's got a good defense. So, I think Bryce is in that Jalen Hurts mold, and I think it's a lot closer than 17.5 or 18.5 points than what they're saying in Vegas.
Hey, if we see 2 quarterbacks against Miami, I think that'll be a good sign throughout the game that Miami may be onto something. You're pulling in Jalen Milroe. Was the other guy named Paul Tyson, I believe? Is it Paul Bear Bryant's
Paul
nephew?
Tyson's a legacy. I got a little bit too hyped on
some
Twitter videos, but yeah, no, Jalen Milroe is the clear cut number 2.
So hey, if we see Milroe into the game, maybe that's a good sign for Miami. You're switching quarterbacks game 1. There's frustration. Alabama goes into the game taking Miami lightly. You never know what could happen. Ross, what are the keys to beat the Alabama Crimson Tide, you think, for the Miami Hurricanes?
Well, the way I see it, and I've told you before, is I see Nick Saban kind of lining it up, man-to-man, eye-to-eye, and considering that, he will personally consider that his players are going to be better than the players that we're going to line up across him at Miami. We have to force creativity from them. We have to force them to dig into their playbook a little bit. If they are allowed to keep the game simple, it's a bad sign for us. It's a very bad sign for us. We saw what happens if a prolonged rushing attack actually occurs. We saw it in the North Carolina game. It's something that I'm not quite sure why, but it's something that the Manny Diaz defense just really struggles at sometimes, especially when you consider I don't know how you want to phrase it, but get the ball rolling. Once it kind of starts going, it seems like it's something that's been kind of difficult to stop sometimes. We got to make these guys be the guy, we got to make them be the SEC team that they are. We got to make them dig into their playbook like they would versus an SEC team. To me, that's going to be one of the biggest things about this entire matchup. Bill O'Brien in his first week with a young quarterback. I want to see if we really pin our ears back and if we just attack, or if we just, try to go 3-4 up front at times and we trust our guys to win. But I think that like I said, getting them out of that simple offense is going to be the absolute key for us in the long run for that game. We know we can't get in a shootout, and we know we can't get into just an absolute trench war with them. There's got to be some happy medium somewhere we have to find.
RC, anything you wanted to add from Ross's perspective? I thought he did a very good job. Anything maybe you think he missed out on that you think Miami can contribute in winning this football game? Because it is possible. That's why they play the game. You put the pads on. Hey, anything could happen.
Paul, you're absolutely right. I mean, you've got to go ahead and perform when you have the opportunity to perform. But the big thing I think that I just want to, emphasize here, not to sound like a broken record, is that you got to keep Derek clean. He's got to be clean. That's your first key.
Outstanding.
If you give him the opportunity to have time to go through his reads, at least to his second read, and you get a chance in today's college modern day football, we're all spread out. So offenses really have the advantage to the nth degree now. When you look at traditional defensive-minded coaches like Nick Saban with a very inexperienced quarterback, you're going to see them try to go ahead and go hat on a hat, man on a man, and they're going to establish everything from the run first. So that is what our defense is going to have to do. And, it's going to be a punishing type of attack that we're going to face. So your offense has to be able to score more points. Ross, I hate to disagree with you. It is going to be a shootout. The only way we compete, because they're going to score on us. They're physically bigger and better, and they're faster and they're longer. That's not going to change from now to the 4th of September. What can happen for us is to put points on the board. Manny's going to attack on defense, no question about it. But we have to be able to put points on the board. If we go 3 and out, not only in our first or second possession, the game's pretty much over. All right? You've got to be able to put pressure on them from the very beginning, and that means putting up points early. And if we don't do that, it's going to be a bad day up there in Atlanta for us.
RC mentioned, going 3 and out. I think throughout this past season, we had consecutive series where we would go 3 and out. I think against Clemson, there was a bunch, and our defense didn't have a break on the sideline. So when their offense would get back on, it would be an easier drive. They didn't have time to rest. Our offense wasn't moving the football whatsoever, and that's so key. Avoid 3 and out drives and finish your drives. In my opinion, don't settle for field goals. You got to get 6 points every single time. You cannot leave points off of the scoreboard as well. And, when we played Florida in 2019, I believe we gave up 7 sacks. Jacory Williams took 7 hits. We can't have that happen with De'Ara King. Okay, we need a healthy De'Ara King out of this game, and we need to protect our quarterback like RC said. It's going to be a big challenge, and we need a healthy Zion Nelson during the game because he hasn't been at practice. I'm not sure. I don't think he was a part of the second scrimmage either. I hope he's fine. I hope he'll be ready to go, but I think it's a big red flag if he's not playing against Alabama. Now, we're all talking about Alabama's offense, and I think we're all trying to picture and we have an idea of what Bill O'Brien wants to run, but we've never seen him call a game during the regular season for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Stu, do you have any idea or picture what we're going to see in a Bill O'Brien offense for the Alabama Crimson Tide?
I think it's going to look a lot like when Jalen Hurts was at quarterback. I think they'll take some chances downfield, some quick slants, but primarily it's going to be predicated around, the run part of that RPO. I can see them trying to establish a run early. I haven't asked about actual, game plan, what that's going to entail. I'll have some info on that closer to kickoff for you, but I can see them trying to establish a run, much like RC said. I think he kind of alluded to it, where it's like you got a new quarterback, you want to kind of prop him up a little bit. Best way to do that, establish the run. So I think you're going to see a lot of Brian Robinson. You're going to see Trey Sanders and whoever else they they like in there. And, they're going to get crafty with a Jai Hall, running around in the backfield doing something. So I think that's what you're going to see first. And then they'll try to transition into what they want to run.
Yeah, absolutely. I think their run game is going to open up the offense. You're going to see a lot more, airing it out, passing throughout the game, deep in the game as well. But their offense is going to be set up by their run game. I think, like you said, it's going to be a run heavy RPO offense that we're going to see. And I think Bryce Young as a quarterback works really well in an RPO offense, and he has legs. He can run. He can run. He's a very well equipped, good all around quarterback. You see the talent there. So I'm very curious how he plays in this game. And this game, I honestly, people ask me, what do you think? I have no idea what to expect. I really don't. There's so many question marks for me, and we're going to find out a lot. But I'll say this, guys. This game, whether Miami gets blown out, whether they beat Alabama, this game does not define the season. Because then you got to play App State. You got to play Michigan State. You have a tough game against North Carolina that will decide the ACC Coastal, whether or not you play against Clemson for the ACC title game. You got to play a good NC State team. You got Pittsburgh away on the road. It's going to be like -5 degrees. So there's a lot of interesting matchups. Ross, what game do you have circled in for the University of Miami in the regular season?
We've talked about it a lot, but that North Carolina game is just so glaring. It's just so glaring after what happened last season. I got to see us make some big strides in that. I got to see us, not just see us, but see Manny Diaz prove that Mac Brown is a guy he can compete with. Remember, this is the guy that fired him at Texas. So it's always, I figure there might be that little chip on Diaz's shoulder going into another matchup with him. And I hope that's the approach that he goes in, and I hope that's the approach that he instills in our defense. It's all around, Paul. I mean, this is a hell of a battle. Just asking these guys to do any of this kind of stuff is going to be pretty tough. Let's just hope that the coaching staff and the players are truly ready.
Hey, gotta love it, man. We'll see what happens. RC, what do you think about the regular season? What games do you have circled in besides Alabama?
Well, in addition to North Carolina, the team that scares me the most, it's not in our conference, not in the Coastal, in our division rather. It's NC State. Offensive line play, top to bottom. I said it last year. That kid played in the NFL left tackle. I think he's a sophomore last year. Their center's outstanding. Can play guard. He's going to play on Sundays. They're so good up front. And then they've got a very underrated, in my opinion, running back. Kid who's dynamic, who is great after contact. He's one of those guys that is able, much like the dynamic duo that the Tar Heels last year had, he's able to go ahead and get plus yardage after contact, and that's always a big key. And he doesn't fumble. So that is something that does concern me. That's a team that has weapons on offense. And then on defense, they just scheme very well. They're very similar to Bronco. They find a way to take away what you love to do and force you to go in areas that maybe it doesn't look sexy on film, but that's how you beat those type of schemes. So you're looking at that team, and they're so well coached. He's been there for what I think it's his third or fourth year now. He's one of those guys he's a traditionalist in terms of making sure that the fundamentals are down and the game evolves from there. So he's very well. He's a great head coach. He's got a great staff, great kids. He's got tons of NFL talent. Don't forget the tight end that they have. The kids at playmakers as well. So to me, when I look at NC State playing here, probably the way the ACC takes care of Miami, it'll be a noon kickoff, or maybe a 1 o'clock kickoff, but it definitely won't be a primetime game for us. So that game to me is one that does concern me.
Stu, this is a layup for you, man. We got to talk Michigan State. This is your alma mater. This is what you bleed. Why should the Miami Hurricanes really circle in that Michigan State game?
Well, first off, RC's right. NC State's a real team. And Miami gets the benefit of getting the games that should be tough at home. I'm thinking about the Va Tech game and so on and so forth. But MSU, I think you look at MSU, and this is a team that Miami should be just more talented, more across the board, more talented. But MSU is going to put up a pretty physical fight. You're going to see a team that's going to be very reminiscent of, what you expect out of the Big Ten with a punch in the mouth, run the ball, try and get very creative because this is Michigan State's this is the big game for them. Unless you're a big Western Kentucky fan, this is the game of the year for Michigan State outside of U of M, because this will be nationally broadcast. Mel Tucker really wants to win a game in Florida. Pretty much across the board improved. Got rid of 24 kids, most of which went to MAC or FCS schools. Brought in transfers from Bama, Wake, Florida. Got kids from all across the country. Improved a lot of what they needed to improve on. Probably a team that would be scarier to play next year. I don't know if you guys are running it back in East Lansing since that got canceled last year. If you play them next year or the year after, I'll have a much harder take on it. But yeah, Michigan State's going to try and impose their will. And it's going to be a great test for this Miami defense because this is a real test on how good that run defense will be at this point. You'll know what you got, especially after Bama and App State. This will be it.
Hey, I'm telling you, look out for that Michigan State game. I'm serious, man. It's going to be a noon kickoff. You never know what could happen. If your team falls out flat, look, it could be a dogfight in the third quarter, and you wouldn't even know it. So those noon kickoff non-conference games, look out for those. And Mel Tucker's a great head coach. He's definitely a coach on the rise. All right, we got to talk about it. Maybe, Stu, you can sit this one out because you probably have no idea what this is about.
Oh, I'm aware.
We're talking about Avonte Williams. Obviously, everybody knows the backstory, the situation of what occurred. He has been dismissed of all charges. He is an innocent man. Ross, what do you think happens with Avonte Williams? Does he come back to the University of Miami? Is he reinstated into the football program, or do you think he moves on to another program?
Man, all I can say on that is bring Tay back to the U. Bring that man back to the U. Yeah. This is a scenario where, yes, I understand that we had to make the move we had to make based off of the information that we had at that time. But things have obviously changed. They've obviously changed a whole lot. I don't see any reason to punish a kid necessarily if he's not going to be guilty of something. Honestly, if this is a scenario where we can take a kid, kind of put him under our wing and focus him back on something that's special in his life, like football, after having something like this take his attention away from it, I think that's a more positive thing for that young man than anything else. Pushing him to the side and just saying, basically, go figure it out on your own somewhere else. I don't think that's what's best for Avonte Williams. I really don't. I think that the football team and Avonte Williams himself would benefit if he's back.
RC, what are your thoughts about this situation?
Well, way back early in my coaching days, we had a situation similar to this. Our code of conduct back then did provide for due process, first and foremost, because it was consistent with the law and it's consistent with running a state program. You've got to make sure you follow the law. So based on that, this entire situation, you just hope that everyone, first and foremost, is okay. The girlfriend is okay, the baby's okay, and in today's world, with the emphasis of mental health, it's a concern. It's a primary concern to make sure they're doing well. That's first and foremost. In terms of his status, I was surprised that we dismissed him from the team. I felt that was inconsistent with what most procedures that universities have provide student athletes. I was a little shocked at that, but I understood the gravity of the situation. And in today's world, it's a different world when I was 25 years when I was coaching, but I understand the situation and the severity of the situation and the decision that was made. That being said, I think they need to take a strong look at why the charges were dropped. They need to really look at the facts in this situation and then make an educated decision based on that. Knowing what I do know about this young man, what I've seen before, I've never heard of any type of issues like this. That's not the person that's been described to me by several people in the Daytona, DeLand area. I've seen him do, there's videos of him on YouTube speaking at schools, doing charity work. This young man, to me, possesses a lot of great skills in terms of as a person. So I'm hoping they're able to bring him back and that everything can be worked out and that he can still have an opportunity to succeed. I mean, it's about getting that degree. And if you're not going to get that degree, being prepped for an opportunity to play in the NFL, which he obviously deserves all those opportunities if he's done nothing wrong here. And that's for them to decide. So hopefully it works out for all parties involved and he's able to come back and fulfill his potential as a student athlete at the University of Miami.
Yeah, no, I mean, Mr. HC says it best. We have brought back plenty of players. If, Avonte Williams has done nothing wrong. So why not reinstate him back to the football program? I do understand kind of what you stated, RC, the due diligence process where, hey, you may need to step aside from the football program until we find out more information, for example. I will say this, Manny Navarro of The Athletic, and he puts out probably the most best information. It's not BS at any means. It's pretty on point when he puts out information. He said it's very unlikely Avonte Williams will return as of right now. So let's see what happens. Things could change. I do understand that classes do start tomorrow at the University of Miami. If you're on campus this weekend, there's student orientation running around. Class starts tomorrow. So I don't think that means anything, but if he's going to get reinstated, I think we'll find out tomorrow if he does, to be honest. I think tomorrow will be a good indication. So it's definitely, it's unfortunate that Avonte Williams, was put into this situation. I'm glad he's an innocent man. The truth came out, and it'll be very interesting where he ends up. I mean, I know Nick Saban did a speech, I think it was yesterday or today maybe, about giving young men second chances. So, hey, Avonte Williams is an innocent man, and I believe he does deserve a chance to come back to the University of Miami football program. Now, guys, a great quarterback had an outstanding game yesterday. Jacory Brown. I left very impressed. Stu, do you know anything about Jacory Brown? This is the future Cam Newton, by the way.
That's what I hear. $250,000 and he could be yours, allegedly. I saw the highlights. He looked really good, and Georgia is. We don't have to tell anybody we're not breaking news. Georgia high school football is tippy top of the mountain. I mean, he's not doing it against nobodies. He looked really, really good in what I saw. And, I think I spoke to you much earlier in the year. And one of the things I really was challenged by Manny Diaz is like, hey, we got to start, it's great that we're getting that South Florida thing. Let's move out. Let's start expanding. Yeah. And he's brought in great young coaches, great young guys, analysts. It's top to bottom that go out and recruit. And to get, Jacory Brown to not go to Georgia, to not go to Bama, Auburn, etc., and come south, I think it's great.
Yeah, no, I thought Jacory Brown played outstanding. Got the stats right there. 10 of 18, 165 passing yards, 3 TDs, 24 rushes, 145 rushing yards, 1 TD. Thank you, Mr. HD, for that. Man, outstanding job. I thought he was he showed great pocket presence, had a high football IQ. His release, he has a long release. It's very unorthodox in my opinion. I don't like that. That's something they got to work on at Miami. I don't think that translates well to the Power 5 level. I think he can get away with a lot of things in high school with that long arm release action. But I thought he made a lot of great passes. He's a very powerful runner. He's not a burner. He's very powerful. You want him in that goal line situation, 3rd and goal, 3 yards out. Maybe it's 4th and 3. I think he's the perfect quarterback for an RPO offense. Ross, what did you see out of Jacory Brown that you liked?
one of the things that stood out directly, and it's something that, has been spoken on quite a bit, but this guy has grown man strength at the quarterback position. I mean, it's flat out incredible sometimes to watch how easily he mows down linebackers when he gets to the second level. I in this game, I saw 3 or 4 guys literally bounce off of him. Even when he was casually just making his way to the sidelines, they were bouncing off of him.
Yeah.
It was nothing for him. It's almost like a man versus boys scenario, especially when he gets a little momentum going behind him. This is an elite athlete with some incredible upside. He is very raw in the pass game, but I'll tell you what, he looked a lot more confident. He really did. He was taking some shots and some opportunities that I didn't see him take necessarily all the time previously. He's still a guy that, his strength is going to be passing on the move and running the ball. But if he can show even just a little bit more improvement as the season goes on in the pocket, it's going to be a big deal for us.
No, absolutely, man. I think he can be a very impressive college football quarterback, if developed properly, if put in the right offense, because I don't think every offense is the perfect fit for him, but I think an RPO offense he can really excel in and utilize his legs as well. RC, what were your thoughts about Jacory?
I want to piggyback on what you guys mentioned and what Ross emphasized, and I'll simply put it this way. He possesses the it factor.
Right.
The it factor is something that you cannot teach. You can break down mechanics, skill level, all those good things, work ethic, blah, blah, blah. But when things need to happen, he found a way to do it. Not once, not twice, but the last 3 drives. That, to me, was very telling of what type of competitor he is. Does he need a lot of skill refinement? No doubt about it. But what that kid can do at this age, at this time of his high school career, when you need to put everything together and lead your team against great competition to win games, I really like everything that kid possesses right now. I think his potential is through the roof. And if we are lucky enough to have him here on campus at this time of year next year, and lucky enough for Rhett to still be our offensive coordinator, I'll be extremely pleased.
All right, guys, we're wrapping it up right here. Let's do a little bit of rapid fire. Jaleel Skinner, will he be a Miami Hurricane, Ross? Yes or no?
Yeah, let's go. Yes, why not? Let's get it going.
RC?
No.
Stu, the number 1 tight end in the nation, Jaleel Skinner, is he a Miami Hurricane or no?
No.
Oh, you know what? Just leave, Stu. Just leave.
No, isn't Georgia the crystal ball for him?
It seems like Miami's trending upward.
Hey, last I saw, he was crystal balled to
Fair.
Georgia, so I'll go with Georgia. All
right, you got Georgia. RC's got a Georgia or another school as well. All right, over, under. You're taking the spread on the game? 17 points. RC?
Over.
Stu?
Under.
Ross?
Over.
You know what? I will take the under. Stu has me going on that bandwagon. He's getting me on that bandwagon. So I'm on the Stu bandwagon train right now.
Hey, look, I would have said over a few weeks ago, but Bryce scares me.
9 wins over under at Miami for the 2021 season. Stu?
Over.
RC?
Even.
Even? Ross?
Not exact.
Over.
Over. I say over as well. I think we get to 10 exactly, and we have our 2 losses. I don't know Alabama, I think we're going to lose that game. The next one, it might not be North Carolina. It could be a sleeper team like Pittsburgh or Virginia Tech. But I think, we'll get 10 wins. But that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. All right. Who is our leading rusher this upcoming season? Ross.
Man, that's a fantastic question. Wow. I'm going to go with Chaney because he offers everything. He's the guy that offers a little bit of everything. If Chaney is healthy, I think he is our guy. I really do.
RC?
Oh, this is the money year for Cam, so I'm going with Cam.
Stu?
Cam.
I'm going to say De'Ara King. I think he's going to be our leading rusher this upcoming season. I know that's a gamble one, but I think we're going to let him. I think he's going to be normal. He's not going to be timid with the torn ACL. It's his final year of college football. And he's just going to play football. Let it be. If he gets injured, he gets injured. That's going to be his mindset. So I think De'Ara King will be our leading rusher. Stu, what's your score prediction Miami versus Alabama, September 4th, because I'm not going to get you on before. I'll probably get you on after. So
31-20.
31-20, Alabama. That's it, guys. It was a pleasure having everyone on. We hit 90 people on this live show. Greatly appreciated. RC, Stu, and of course my co-host Ross. Man, you guys always do a tremendous job. Love your intake and your perspective on the game of football. So thank you again, guys, and thank you to everyone watching. Go Canes.
Go Canes.